Hi everyone, Tony Tonkin here from the Child Protection Party. Really glad that you could be with me today to talk about an issue which I think concerns all of us. It's really about how we're attacking the issue around coronavirus and who that's impacting, and whether or not you yourself are finding that there are issues which you have in terms of being isolated, in terms of how you're dealing with the issue in relation to the care of your children, and the way you're dealing with and managing not just your own mental well-being but the mental well-being of others around you. The Child Protection Party is particularly concerned about the way that access is managed and given to children during COVID-19, and for you as parents, how you're being able to have your views heard amongst the system which often doesn't listen to you. And particularly when we're finding that services within the child protection system are being restricted because of the lack of access, and this increase in power and control that the department has, and how that is impacting you and your children. We need to find a way to make a stand against all the things that we find are prohibiting our involvement with our kids. Even with COVID-19, there are ways by which we can communicate, ways by which we can find out how others are experiencing lockdown and what it is that we might choose to do about it. These are important issues, and it must be for every one of us to find a way to negotiate some of the problems that we're encountering. We're concerned about you, how you're dealing with this particular issue, and what there is that you can do to make a difference. So how are you being represented? Who's looking after your needs? Who is your voice for the issues that are concerning you? This is what's important to us, and I hope that it's important to you. We need to make a stand against services, organisations and governments who restrict the type of access that we need, particularly when it comes to kids. I appreciate that in New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland there have been recent outbreaks around COVID-19. I also appreciate that there is a strong need to be vaccinated, and there is an increasing need to be vaccinated when it comes to kids, and how we're going to roll that out completely is an unknown at the moment. We have a government that's inadequate, that don't seem to be able to plan ahead. We can't expect people to read the future, but we can at least expect them to have an idea as to what it is that they're doing, and whether what they're doing is in the best interest of the population, or whether it's just a political ploy in order to gain control and to govern with a firmer hand. I think though that if we look at just the child protection system in itself, which is about improving outcomes for kids generally, whether the kids are at school, whether they're receiving the appropriate mental well-being treatment that they might need, whether they're even being asked how they feel about COVID-19, the threat that exists with regard to them and their family, their parents and other siblings. We need to be monitoring closer how this is impacting all of those around us. We are going to be locked into the COVID-19 virus for quite some time, maybe even years. We need to therefore be planning as to how we're going to manage COVID-19 and what that means in terms of looking after the well-being of children generally. What are children thinking? What are they feeling? How are they reacting to COVID-19 and the restrictions that it offers? These are important questions for us to answer, and it's important that we plan to ensure that their interests are taken care of. One of the biggest concerns, of course, is homelessness and lack of income for parents, and the impact that that has on children. It is important that the most vulnerable people in our community, those that are on low incomes, those that lack the education perhaps, those with children who require certain particular needs. They are the people that we need to be looking to help. Governments at this point have lacked any interest in the well-being of kids. We hear a lot about how people are handling the lockdowns because they're no longer at work, because they are isolated themselves. And when we have those conversations, we're primarily talking about adults. It's about time we started to focus on kids, what's happening to them, and how we can make the changes that's going to impact them, whether that be in terms of financial income for the family, whether that be in terms of services that these families may need outside of the medical treatment that they need in terms of their mental and physical well-being. But what other areas are important for these people to meet? Domestic violence, the degree to which families are locked into sometimes some violent situations and not able to seek the help because they're not out in the community and other people are not looking after the well-being of these kids when their parents are unable to do so. Teachers are great ones to be able to identify issues that's happening within families and to make sure that those kids are cared for. Sometimes school is the safest place that these children can be. So not to go to school means that a lot of these kids are locked in an environment which is damaging to them mentally, psychologically and emotionally. And we don't have that valve anymore to be able to make services available to this group of people because notifications are not being made. So it's important for every one of us to understand that the focus now needs to be on children and what children need and what is in their best interest, not just in what's in the adults' best interest, but what's happening to the kids. This is important, and this is something that all of us need to focus on.